Good afternoon, folks. It's time for me to record another round of story times. So here's the first one of today. This one I really have no specific title for, but this went on during Hurricane Sandy. So the heating system in my old house was a disaster. It was an old oil burner system, most likely original to the house, which was built in I think early 1960s, in the early 60s, late 50s, something of that range. And the heating system was probably original to the house. The guys that we had there to try and fix the shit that went wrong with it they all said that it was a pretty ancient looking system. They just couldn't pinpoint from when. So my guess is it's original to the house. So early 60s, late 50s system. So there never really was heat in the house. But when Hurricane Sandy came around, it sucked even more. Because I remember that week, the week that we had no power was actually really cold. It was colder than usual. So to keep the house warm, we had to we had to boil water. We had pots on every floor, big pots, full to the brim with water, and we had them all on boil. And it got to the point where there was so much steam coming from those pots that it actually started setting the smoke detectors off in the house. And because I was on a different floor, because I was on the second floor and this was actually happening on the first floor, we were trying to heat up my grandfather's floor at the time. I had freaked out because I had no idea what was going on, and I tried to race out of the house, and then I hear my mother and my grandfather trying to figure out what to do, because as I would find out, it was just that there were so many pots going that the smoke detectors got set off. And there was actually so much steam being made that the paint around where the stove was actually looked like it was starting to peel off a little bit, which I thought was pretty bizarre because we had to do this basically every day for an entire week, or for the days that were extra cold, which was like every day. I remember that week, some nights got into the 30s and 40s. So for October, that was pretty screwed up. So we ended up having to boil water. We had to boil water to take baths and showers too. Well, there really was no way to take a shower because if you wanted to take a shower, you would get nothing but ice cold water. Which, I mean, in that place, what's really new? Because the water heater system was terrible too. Probably just as original to the house as the heating system. So, the tubs in that house were porcelain, or some kind of porcelain. So if you heated up water, it would cool down really, really quickly. And I remember by the time that I was able, there was enough water for me to take a bath, the water would already be cold. The pots that we just finished boiling were already cold by the time I got in there. Bizarre. Bizarre shit. What else? What else? Oh yeah, I mentioned maybe a story or two ago that we also had to dry our hair in the car. Yeah, that was kind of a pretty funny thing. At least we had gas for the car. Cause I mean, God, the day before the hurricane hit, that was a fucking disaster. I think there were actually still some incredibly long lines for gas on the day the hurricane hit because it hit towards the night. So there were probably still lines going all over the place. I was not out that day because we didn't know when it was going to hit. So my best guess is there were still lines going all over the place for gas. So what else? Oh yeah, here's one more little quick story relating to water. We had just gotten a fridge in the old house to replace one that already worked, by the way, mind you. But, you know. So we had just gotten a new fridge, one that beeped and booped and sung songs because fuck you. And it had an ice dispenser. And the night the hurricane hit, we decided, let's get all this ice out of here, or else we're gonna have a miniature flood if all this shit melts. And because the power went out, and the fridge had no power for a week, some of the ice we missed actually did melt and created a very miniature flood, but we were like, wow, disaster averted. It was just a small puddle for the few cubes that were left that we couldn't really reach, but what a fun day that was. So, hope you enjoyed this little story about water adventures during Hurricane Sandy. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.